Stratex International is a gold development and production company focused on gold and other high-value metals in Turkey and Ethiopia. We're talking now to the Chief Executive, Dr. Bob Foster. Bob, good to talk to you. There's been some really exciting moves recently for Stratex International. Turkey is where gold will be first produced, although there are some really big moves now in Ethiopia. Tell us a little bit more about the makeup of your company.
Well, absolutely. Our focus has been Turkey really since we first arrived in the country in 2005, and it remains an important focus. We have two projects now that we're taking forward through the technical studies to production, and we're looking at production perhaps in early 2012 in the first. We have a pipeline of exploration projects, as you can imagine, having been in the country for 5 years, a lot of exciting developments. Probably the key one of those at the moment is a project known as Uxut, where we've already identified 150,000 ounces of oxide gold. It's a project being funded by a major company, Centera, and that's moving forward very nicely, so adding to the pipeline of ounces. But more recently we've stepped off into Ethiopia. Very exciting developments there. We have specific conceptual targets in the Rift Valley around the Red Sea, some early stage discoveries which has attracted the interest of some of the major companies, and we're very gung-ho about this.
Certainly seems an interesting move for the company. There's been some encouraging drilling data though in Turkey, and I know that you have this target to produce gold there in about a year's time. We've got this gold price rising, it's at record highs. Could that due date for your production of gold be brought forward to take advantage of the high price of gold?
We'd like to see that, and if it's at all possible we will, but there's a natural progression of obviously taking a project into production. On the smaller project, the Enleja project, 100,000 ounces of oxide gold, meaning it occurs at the surface. It's quite easy to extract physically and to leach to recover the gold. We've almost completed, with the support of our partners in Turkey and consultants, the technical studies, a feasibility study. That will be completed by the end of this year, and we hope we can report to the market early in the new year. But then there's a progression of environmental studies which need to be completed, the permitting study, reporting to the authorities about what we intend to do, and then about a 3-month program of construction. It's a small plant, low capital cost. It will be constructed within 3 months. But to be honest, much as we'd like to accelerate, and we will if we can, it's probably going to take the best part of a year.
What sort of costs are we talking about in terms of setting up production?
This is a small project, and our consultants out of Nevada, Caps Cassidy, are probably the best to put these small to medium-sized heap leach gold projects into production. So they're focused on giving us the best delivery, and to be honest, at this stage we wait for their final feasibility, but we don't anticipate capital costs more than about $10 million. So quick and easy.
The way you've put your business together in Turkey with joint venture partners seems to be the blueprint for what you're now doing in Ethiopia as well. Is that something that...
Well, absolutely. Bringing on partners is an important step. We identified really in early 2009, post the crash, we had to re-strategize our position financially. We had cash in the bank, but we recognized that we needed to ensure that cash remained in a pretty positive state. So at that point we decided we were going to bring partners in to go into production, and we've done that with our partners NTF, the Turkish company which we're working with to go into production in Turkey. But equally we had at that stage the 2 major exploration projects. There was going to be a cash burn there, so we decided to bring partners in. And we bring them in on the basis that they earn progressively into the project. If they see a high level of gold potential, they'll progress further. And it's a minimising financial exposure and risk. It's also to some extent minimising the technical risk, and perhaps I can just use Ethiopia as an example there. The recent discoveries we've had there are exciting. They've attracted major company interest, and one company, Anglo Gold Ashanti, the 3rd biggest gold producer in the world, has a joint partnership themselves with a Middle Eastern company called Thani, and we're working with Thani Ashanti to take these projects forward. And the excitement level about Ethiopia is such that Thani Ashanti are earning into a level of 51% by expending $3 million in 2 years, and they have the right to go to 70% on individual projects by expending a further $4 million. But the whole key to this is, and sometimes we get questioned by shareholders, why are you giving away effectively 70% of a good project? It's a fair question, but the simple fact is, if a company like Anglo Gold Ashanti goes to the expenditure level of $7 million, they have a multi-million ounce gold deposit in sight, in which case we've had a free carry to a 30% of a very large deposit.
The valuation for your company is based, what appears to be almost exclusively on your operations in Turkey. Westhouse analyst Mark Hayhoe says that Ethiopia has considerable potential for you with this huge land package. When do you see this being brought in to revalue the company? When do you see the share price reflecting what you have in Ethiopia?
I would suspect early to mid next year. Thani Ashanti are now financing the exploration. We have a number of clearly defined targets, which are very exciting targets. And we already have the first drill target delineated. The very nature of these deposits, by the way, it's quite easy to find them once you know what you're looking for. Using satellite imagery, because there's little soil or grass cover in the whole region, Ethiopia and across the border into Djibouti, where we're working as well, in what is effectively the Red Sea Rift Valley, satellite imagery clearly defines these bodies. So it's quite simply a case of being on the ground, sampling them. If they have gold potential, any gold at the surface, we can progressively drill them. The important other factor is that the excitement of these deposits known as low sulfidation gold deposits is that they were formed beneath hot springs. A million years ago, hot springs were bubbling at the surface, and this was bringing gold to the surface. Now, below those hot springs, we know from many different parts of the world, there is a very real potential to deposit multi-ounces of gold per ton. And a classic example, actually, coincidentally, is 2 days ago, when Patagonia Gold, and in fact, southern Argentina is one of our models for moving into the Red Sea area, funnily enough. Patagonia Gold declared a 5-meter intersection at 162 grams of gold. That's exactly the kind of thing we're looking for. So the upside, if we drill, we have a multiple of targets which we'll be drilling this next year. Good news flow. One drill intersection through one of those will turn our company around.
Very briefly, shares, what, at 18-month highs at the moment. As a chief executive, what are your thoughts on that? What are your message to investors for Stratex International?
It has to be very positive. We've got a pathway to production which will be signed, sealed and delivered. We anticipate with the delivery of the feasibility project at the end of this year. That can give investors and the market confidence that we're going to production, we'll have cash flow. Add to that the real upside of multiple targets to be drilled. One multi-ounce intersection there will just turn us around. The upside is very good.
Dr. Bob Foster, thanks indeed for joining us. Chief Executive there of Stratex International.
This film is for educational and leisure purposes only. Proactive Investors does not provide investment advice. The company is a publisher and is not registered with or authorized by the Financial Services Authority. Please refer to the full terms and conditions on the Proactive Investors website.